All right, good morning. Not good morning, I'm sorry. Good afternoon. Today's Tuesday, March 31st, and you should have completed your work from yesterday. Before we get started, make sure you have the following. Do you have your folder labeled Winn-Dixie, as well as the book in front of you? You should have a piece of paper that I told you to stick into the pocket where you wrote yesterday's assignment down, and a pencil to write with. Again, if you don't have that, go ahead and pause the video so that you can get those items in front of you. All right, so yesterday I asked you to work on some definitions. Turn to page 5 in your folder if you would for me. And so you should have matched up your definitions with your words. Were you able to do them without looking them up? I think that's awesome if you did. However, if you didn't, that's fine too, because we're going to learn these words. These are going to be used in the first 5 chapters. So we're going to always increase our vocabulary. And so they've picked out some of the words that might not be words you're used to using or know how to define. So study them, learn them, use them, recognize them in the story so you understand it. All right, so let's see what you should have done. Immediately, that one should go to right away. So go ahead, and if you, at the end I'll show you my picture so you can pause the video if you need to make any changes. The second one, missionary, would be someone who preaches in a foreign country. The next one is distracted, too busy to pay attention. I bet there is a lot of distractions going on. And even when we have conversations with one another, I see so much distraction. People can't even walk without their phone in front of them. If they have to go sit somewhere more than 30 seconds, the phone is out. Have you ever watched a family sit at a table at a restaurant to eat, but their phone, they're either on their phone the whole time or they're looking at it and checking it every time it dings or goes off? And so I want you to practice. You're with your family for the next couple of weeks, a lot more than normal. And so sometimes you need to just set down all devices, turn the TV off, the computer so it's not making noises, and have conversations where you practice looking at each other and not being distracted when someone's talking to you. It's super important, and I don't see very much of it anymore. All right, the next word is fortunate, and that matches up with lucky or well off. The next one is constellations, and that would be the patterns made by the stars. And the last one, congregation, people who are a part of a church. Okay, I'm going to hold this up. If you don't have those or you need to correct one or two, just pause the video and you will be able to get that fixed. All right, but we're going to go on. So, before you go forward, make sure you finished everything make sure you have it all finished before you go on to today's assignment. Okay, you should have finished page 38, and it was before you were reading. That was the one with the front cover and the back cover. And then, would you want to read that book? Why or why not? It's opinions. Remember, it doesn't have to be complete sentences. Turn the page over to page 40. We are going to keep track of the main characters in the story. So this is called My Character Chart. And in chapter 1, we met 2 characters that are main characters throughout the story. And the first one is India Opal Baloney. Or, I don't know how you say the last name. I probably messed it up. Remember how we talk about that in library? Just say it the same way in your head all the time. And I think this is the only time we have to use her last name. Okay, to write it down, it is on chapter 1, the first page, but I'll spell it for you. So let's write India out first. It's India. So that's India. Her middle name is Opal, Opal. And her last name, I'll just spell it, Buloni. All right, so now it asks for an important fact about India. Now remember, I'm an adult and I'm reading the story from adult's perspective. However, you are close to the age. She is I think the back cover said she was a 10-year-old. So some of you are pretty close to that age, or maybe that age, I'm not sure. Anyway, you can relate to the story a lot differently than Mrs. Dixon can. All right, so I'm thinking about the story, and I read it, and the story starts out with her going to the grocery store for Dad. Do you get to go to the grocery store for Mom or Dad? No, you don't. You can't walk that far and go. We don't hardly let you go anywhere by yourselves because our world has become what we consider unsafe a lot of times. But that's how far back this setting is. And so she was walking to the store, and she went to Winn-Dixie grocery store. But when she went in, there was some chaos. She could hear some yelling. The manager was hollering about getting that dog out of there. And when she saw the dog, she was just watching the scene until she heard the manager say, "Someone call the pound." Okay, because the pound doesn't like to keep dogs that won't, it's hard to adopt a dog out that's, like Winn-Dixie. I mean, we look at Winn-Dixie and, he was big and stinky and causing all kinds of troubles. But right away, she came up with a plan. On the spur of the moment, she goes, "That's my dog." And then they asked the name of the dog. Now, I would probably stutter and stumble, but she was really quick-witted. I wish I could be that way. But she named the dog fast. First name that came into her head. Where was she at? She was at the grocery store, and she called him Winn-Dixie. She goes, "Winn-Dixie, that's his name. That's what he goes by." And so they had mercy on the dog going to the pound, and she took Winn-Dixie with her. So how would you describe her right there? I think that she was caring. And so on my line, I have written caring down. Now, you don't have to write exactly what I write. You can put what you think. How would you describe her? Would you describe her differently? Now remember, for your grade for reading, you have to complete all of the pages and all of the things that I have asked you to do. So make sure you have something written down there. And as we go on and learn more about India, we'll add some more descriptive words that describes her throughout the story. So put 1 or 2 words down that describes how you think India could be described, a fact about her, not something that you're going to guess at, but a fact. All right, and the second character, you guessed it, Winn-Dixie. So let's write Winn-Dixie down on the character's name. It's W-I-N-N, and Dixie is D-I-X-I-E. The dog, it's kind of funny. Have you ever seen a dog that would smile at you? I don't think I have, but it was a funny way for her to describe the dog. But there were some other words that would describe this dog. First off, they used the word big. He was a big dog, so I would probably put big on my line. And in his present condition, he had bald spots, his hair was all yucky, and she even described him as ugly. So I put ugly, U-G-L-Y. Remember, no complete sentences. And smelly, he stunk, because obviously he has been running around free for a while. So I put smelly, S-M-E-L-L-Y. Again, you can put your own words down there to describe them if they're different than mine. I don't care. It's your paper that you're working on right here. All right, so tonight I would also like you to draw a character for each one. So you need one for India and one for Winn-Dixie. It doesn't have to be the best. It just needs to be something, a picture there that you did. So I know that you're working on things with me throughout the story. All right. So as we went through this story, we see she has Winn-Dixie. And now she's heading home. What do you think? Would your parents let you bring home a dog that is described as Winn-Dixie is in the story? A stinky, bald-spotted, big old dog? Would they let you? If one of my kids came home with a dog like that, my answer would be no. So I want you to think for a minute, if you had to do this and you were walking home with this dog, how would you try to get your parents to let you keep the dog? All right, so that's what we find happening in chapter 2. So tonight, or now, before tomorrow, I want you to read chapter 2. And then I want you to remember, you're always looking for new characters to fill in on the character pages. Don't fill them out yet. We'll work on them together. But as we go through, if there's someone new and it's someone that we want to put in here, we can go ahead and add them. All right? And if I don't talk about that particular character and you feel like there's someone important, by all means, you go ahead and fill that character out. If we run out of spaces for our characters, we'll just add a piece of notebook paper and we'll keep going. So it's not a problem. All right, so for your homework today, do your fill in the blank on page 5. Read chapter 2. Just keep an eye out for new characters. And tomorrow, we are going to talk about chapter 2. All right, you have a good rest of the afternoon and I'll see you tomorrow.